Today I'm going to be comparing my homemade snowplow to this CRAFTSMAN snowplow attachment. So to start off, we're going to look at how I coupled this plow. Although I showed it in the first video, I just have some 1/2-inch holes, I believe, drilled in here, and I just used these pins, and the holes are kind of not circular anymore, so it doesn't fit in there that great. And I would just use this pin just like that, and then that would mount here on the CRAFTSMAN on the mounts that the front rods of the deck attached to. Although that's not a very good place to mount to. You might have to figure something else out for mounting, because it ends up bending those tabs side to side over time, and you have to bend them back every once in a while. When you go to put the deck on, you'll see they'll all be bent up, and you got to bend them back straight again. But the really nice thing about this homemade plow, and it just being that pin, within not even 15-20 seconds, I could really fast pull this, and then do the same to the other side and slide the plow underneath. And I could keep the plow outside and the mower in the garage with very little space. So if space is a problem indoors, this is a really good option here. This one, not so much. So this one sticks out from the front of the tractor about 20 inches or so, just to give you a little bit extra room. So it makes the tractor 20 inches longer when you have to store it inside. And this you cannot easily remove. This one is hooked up to the tractor at several points, mounted to the frame. Starts off with these brackets, which are mounted with these 2 bolts, and the center bolt just kind of hangs out in there by itself. And then it comes down to a piece of angle iron, and then the plow mounts again to the frame. These 2 bolts go to the frame of the tractor, and these 2 bolts of the plow go to the front of the plow. Now for the lift mechanism. On this one, the way I did it, I just took an eye bolt, put it in the center, and then I took some baling twine here. This is actually 3 or 4 pieces of baling twine that I twisted together to make it stronger. And it was so simple. All you do is it's got a swivel clip on the end. I put some zip ties around the deck raise and lower lever. Multiple ones for different adjustments, so you can adjust how high you want it to raise. Just clip it on the higher one if you want it to raise higher, or lower if you want it lower. And it would just clip on there, and it would simply work by raising and lowering this lever, just like this. For the lift mechanism on this, it's all done with this lever right in front. Too complex for me to explain on a video, but simply it's done with this lever. To raise it up, you pull the lever back, and then you lift it up, and it locks into place. To put it down, you pull it back, let go, and it drops down. Now the other advantage to this one that it has over the homemade plow, the homemade plow is not able to be angled. This one, right from the comfort of the seat, press this lever down, pull it towards you, and it locks into place angled left. Do the opposite, and it angles right. The other thing about the raise and lower, the homemade plow, actually I was able to get it to raise up about 1 foot, and this one unfortunately only raises up about 3 or 4 inches at a time, and that's not adjustable to my knowledge right now. And of course there's no trip spring on it, so whenever you would hit a bump, the bars would just push on the plastic and bend it. Where this one, of course, has a trip spring. So if you hit something, this blade will fold down just like that and pop back up once it gets over the obstacle. Now, as you saw, I wasn't pushing very hard on this trip spring to get it to go down. That's because this is a snow blade. This is only designed for snow. If you are in terrains that are pretty rough, like a dirt road, or this spring does go a lot. It doesn't take much to trip the blade. As you saw, I was just putting my foot on it. I was barely putting any pressure on it, folded down. But that's not necessarily the fault of the plow. It's because it's a snow plow. They are made cheaper. They also make a dozer attachment, which I'll try to put the number up for it here. But this is just the plow. If you had the dozer attachment, it would have 2 trip springs that are much larger than this one, where this one only has 1 small spring. And I'll give you the number for this too. And as you can see in the manual, it is a 42-inch snow blade. So this plow is actually 2 inches wider than the CRAFTSMAN plow, since that is only a 42-inch blade. It also, as you can see, stands a lot taller. So this one has actually had problems when going through really tall snow. It will come up over the top. This one I've never had a problem with snow coming over the top. It all folds and falls back down again. Now this can be fixed. You can take an old piece of tire tread or an old piece of conveyor belt, use these 2 bolt holes, and bolt that piece of rubber along this, and that'll keep the snow from going up. It'll also help at high speeds if you have really fluffy snow, from the snow coming up and blowing back into your face. And a necessity, absolute necessity for snow plowing with a tractor, you have to have tire chains and wheel weights. I tried plowing in the first videos without tire chains and wheel weights, and you could see that I ended up slipping and sliding a lot, and there was a lot of times I got stuck and had to drag myself out. It is really hard to get stuck in these. Not to say it can't happen, because it absolutely can, and it has, but it's much harder. Surprisingly, the old plow actually did a lot better job backblading, as saying if you were to set the blade down and drive the tractor in reverse and drag the snow behind the blade. This one actually did a really great job at that. I don't know if it's the angle that's on my cutting edge or why, but this one did a really great job. You'd set it down backblade and it would work great the first time. For some reason, this one kind of just floats over the top of the snow the entire time. So this one doesn't do that great at backblading, especially if it's packed. It won't backblade it at all.